That's a very fair way to think about that. Ah, it's a sound that breaks me every fucking time. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Mushoku Tensei here on Stoneface Reactions. I messed this one up too, but we're keeping it. We're keeping it. I am Theta, and we are here for what I assume is going to be a heart-rending final episode to the season. I, for some reason, thought that I had one more episode after this, but then I realized my schedule said this was episode 23 today, when in fact we're recording episode 24, which is the end. I already know, only by what spoiler factor the thumbnail has, is that Norn and Aisha are at some point going to be crying. So, that to look forward to. I should also note that just before this, we recorded episode 20 of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which had a fairly large emotional beat between two characters, so maybe I've burnt out a little bit of the emotion in my heart, and won't hit me as hard as I think it might. Who knows? I know someone out there is like watching these, wanting to see reactors cry, and then stumbling across a channel called Stoneface Reactions and not knowing what the hell to get from that. So just know that ahead of time. You who came to watch a reactor cry, but for some reason didn't skip the monologue and didn't jump right to the time stamp of the episode. Hey, appreciate you. Anyway, we got notes. We got notes because I always have notes, and I will say I didn't have that many notes because last episode was the weird thing for me that I've been rallying against the harem being made, and last episode was just essentially that. So I've got like maybe 4 notes, but like 2 to 3 of them turned into like paragraphs. So let's just go ahead and jump on in. But first I'll say, unfortunately, here at the end, the YouTube releases have only just reached the start of my solo season 2 reactions. So the only comments I could possibly read are people explaining things I've already read in past comments before. So, unless you are holding out hope for me to read out someone explaining why Sylphie's hair turned white for a third time, I've got no comments to read today. Alright. So, into the serious, or more poignant conversation pieces from me. I get that the entire adventure of Mushoku Tensei has been Rudy learning to get past the things that held him back in our world. The traumas that were inflicted upon him that held him back mentally, learning to mature in ways that he was never able to before. But seeing him consider his parents and how he thinks about them now, it is sometimes hard to have sympathy for him. He's gone through an entirely brand new lifespan, new opportunities to consider beliefs that he's had or to think about how he previously handled situations and how to handle them differently. He's essentially a 20-year-old with over 50 years of life experience. So when he considers how much he loved his original parents, people who we saw speaking encouragement to him through a closed door that seemingly paid for his entire existence without expectation of return, a mother that brought him food every day regardless of how he ignored her, and he questions if they really even cared or were worried about him. He questions his love for them, saying he barely loved them. Put that alongside his consideration for Zenith as someone he barely knows, and to me, it just feels like another repulsive part of Rudy's personality that hasn't changed from his experiences in this world. Back when Sylphette was trying to teach him to cast healing magic, and she mentioned that it was like he couldn't feel others, and that was preventing him from being able to cast it as easily as he does other spells. I mentioned that it felt like like that was a symptom of him not being able to emotionally attach to people. And that feels like what is being represented here with his detachment to his parents and Zenith. I would hope that maybe this could be something that the show could work on and develop moving forwards. But a part of me doubts that would be the case. To me, this feels like the cat girls being tied up situation, by which I mean it's a situation that clearly feels like it needs to be addressed in order for Rudy to move forwards with his self-realizations, but that the show doesn't think requires anything, or that the connective tissue between old him and new him is so far removed as to not be a consideration. In that way, changing who he is in this respect would really have no effect moving forwards. He can't reconcile his feelings for his original parents. They are not only in another world, but dead. He formed a bond with his new dad, but what could he possibly do with Zenith now? I mean, from a standpoint of emotional attachment and love for someone that raised you, what seems more likely, and I have doubts that this will even happen, is that he will take her back home with him and will in some way help take care of her. In that way, forming a new relationship with her where he would be more in that parent role than she was, which isn't growth on the front I would be hoping for, just moving forwards. Which, in the end, is also what the show seems to be about. And that's the end of my note there, but it also seems a bit apropos, given that we, again, just recorded Jujutsu Kaisen reaction a moment ago, and we got a whole speech in that one about moving forwards being the only thing that you can do. It also just, I guess, feels like it's a message of modern anime. That sometimes it isn't about growth or development, but it's just about moving forwards and discovering who you'll be next when there's nothing you can do about the situation that you are in, which again is a very real and honest message. Not everything has to be affirming or even reaffirming to morality or life's outlook that you've already hold to be true. Sometimes it has to just be a message that sometimes things don't get better, and all you can do is move past them, or do your best to move past them, and try and find something on the other side. Alright, next up here. Human God told Rudy, no matter what you do, you'll be happy having a bunch of kids with other people, saying the Beast Girls would be a good match for him. Now we got Roxy coming home to possibly be a second wife. I mean, he's clearly been molded into a second Paul. I guess Paul just got lucky and somehow didn't have a bunch of kids he didn't know about all over the place, instead of just having Norn and Aisha. But it feels like Human God is implying that Rudy should sow his seed about the fantasy world. Like, this world needed an infusion of, I don't know. I'd say DNA, if not for the fact that genetically he is of this world, but something, something from another world, considering the implication of encouraging him to have kids with all sorts of different races. And I don't mean by that they shouldn't be intermingling or anything. I just mean that that feels like Human God's intent. Like, he is doing this for a reason. He brought a guy from a different world in to have kids with a bunch of different races to do a thing. And that's the confusing bit for me, is that Rudy doesn't have, like, the genetics of a different world. He's not infusing this new world, or sorry, he's not infusing this world with anything new, other than, I guess, the way his mind works. I don't really know. So it's trying to read into what human God's intent is, and for that, I've really got nothing. The Zenith situation. They are suggesting that she has mana poisoning, and because of it, she's lost her memories. Rudy says she's not brain dead. I was thinking brain damaged, which seems to not be the case either, from the sounds of it. Despite Elenice suggesting that it's a lost cause, her coming back to the way she was, it doesn't seem impossible for her to make new memories, if everything they've said turns out to be true. In which case, Zenith, as who she was, is effectively dead. This is someone brand new now, that will have to be raised essentially like a newborn. I'm grasping at straws here, but like I said in an earlier note, it just feels like she'll be a newborn in an adult's body, having to be raised and taught all over again, assuming that's even possible. Children's brains are much more capable of handling change and new information than an adult's. This could be worse than I'm thinking, and she could just be like this forever. Either way, old Zenith is likely gone for good. It's a fantasy world with all sorts of possibility and options, so I'm not writing anything off yet, but at the end of the day, this world is cruel sometimes and likes to remind us of that. For all I know, we could heal Zenith tomorrow, and the knife twist could be that she can't handle this new reality. Sometimes hope can be just as painful as despair. Alright. On the Roxy, Eris, Sylphie situation. I don't even remember who I originally said I was behind, as it has likely changed so many times as time has gone on. I'm not someone making choices that affect anyone in any real way. I'm just some guy enjoying a story and watching it with you, the viewers, both in the past and the present. You get to see and hear my thoughts on first interaction with the media. Then a week later, I tell you again how my thoughts have changed or stayed the same. That's just the nature of this channel and how I am. What I will say is that regardless of what I may have thought in the past, from the moment Sylphie and Rudy started spending time together this season, I have been on that bandwagon. Now that they are married and expecting a kid, I couldn't be more firmly on Sylphette's side. I brought up my thoughts being a matter of when I thought them for this reason. It's all a matter of timing, and this is going on in it. Eris had her shot, and while she loved Rudy, she needed to find herself and what that meant for Rudy if she was with him. She chose to let Rudy go, and who knows what her intent is on coming back together with him in the future, but for now, that isn't the thing. That same thought applies to Roxy for me. She entered Rudy's life early, far too early for her to have ever done anything with him. Of course, by the time they got back together, he was married. For me, that is a ship that has already sailed. I love Roxy as a character. When she went back to meet her parents again and they finally reconnected emotionally, it was an amazing scene. I feel for her. But just because she's been a strong figure in Rudy's life and a target of his affection in the past, doesn't mean that she needs to be in a relationship with him now. Far be it from me to yuck somebody's yum, but this is a world where the normal thing has already been shown to be a two-person relationship. One person dedicating themselves to another person. If Rudy happens upon a group of people that will accept his advances and will accept any other number of partners in his life, that's their choice. And obviously, who am I to argue with anyone's free will? It just seems to me that Rudy is then robbing them of the love and affection he will have to be forced to spread between them. The show has already gone out of its way to show us that dedicating time in just one location can create regrets in others. I have to think the same message applies to relationships as well. And lastly, I have one final thought here. Elenice is just the devil, whispering into Rudy's ear what she thinks and wants to a guy who couldn't be more malleable to someone telling him what he wants to hear. I almost wonder what she'd say if Cliff wanted to bring another woman into their relationship. Except I think it's obvious that Elenice wouldn't have that much of a problem, considering how open she is to these experiences. She brings up how Zenith must have felt once Paul and Lilia got married. The show flashes back to Paul entertaining the kids as a happy memory, seeming to completely forget the night of the discovery. Zenith was just going to leave Paul, it seemed, and the possibility of Lilia having to trudge the snow to her death was on the table as well. These were not lightly made choices. In fact, they were ones Rudy had to lie about and manipulate everyone into. So, yeah, from the perspective of the past, not so great. This whole thing that Elenice, is suggesting is so simple. I guess maybe Paul should have given his two-sword speech a lot longer while he was still around. Or had his conversation about Roxy that he wasn't willing to give because of party morale. Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. That's that situation where I feel like we needed more Paul. After it's so weird as well because the second watch through, I'm entirely thinking about Paul's sexual assault. Right? I didn't notice it the first time through, and if we had just kept watching the entire show back then, up until season 2, I wouldn't think of Paul as being this more complicated character with this stained backstory as I do now. It would have been, I don't know. I don't know if it would have been more impactful or less impactful for him to have been just a more complicated dad figure or a person with a more complicated past. Well, anyway, these are the thoughts that I'm having going into the final episode of the season. Thankfully, we do know that there will be a season 3, so whatever fuckery happens in this episode will not be the last thing from Mushoku Tensei, at least. It's not going to be one of those shows that gets left, unknown if there's going to be more. We at least know that there will be. So, that said, let's go on and get into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Yep, we already made most of the trek at the end of the last episode.
Rudy. なんだ? そんなに奥さんに会いたいかね? なんでもっと早く気づかなかったんだ。くそ。君はベガリット大陸に行けば後悔する。確かにパウロは死んだ。だがそれは後悔ではなく悲しみだ。ベガリット大陸に行って帰ってくる。その間君は自分の奥さんを一人にするのかい?
Oh, God, don't play this like that. We don't need multiple regrets. We got enough regrets. She could be with the princess. They could be at school. Aisha doesn't go to school. Where the fuck is Aisha? Everyone left? They could have moved in with somebody else. Okay, good.
Rudy,
You've changed a bit. I mean, not just the pregnancy, the hair and everything.
よくしてくれたし、アイシャちゃんも頑張ってくれたから。
ノルはリニアやったのばクリフたちは無事か？
無事って何もないよ。
誰も病気とか怪我はしてないんだな。
特には。
そっか。
ルディ、お兄ちゃん
？Get me fucking worried, man. Of course, you had to screw this whole fucking thing up with the whole Roxy situation.
ただいま。
Oh, the fireplace from the ending credits. Great.
長旅お疲れ様です。
ああ、ただいま、ノル。
Except you didn't tell her anything on the way. Fuck. Yeah, where's Dad? Yeah.
兄さん、お父さんは？
父さんはパウロ・グレイラットは死亡した。
Oh, but wait. There's more.
これが遺品だ。そして
The gauntlet. The stroking gauntlet thing I keep talking about from the opening. Xana could be getting her memory back? From the gauntlet?
ごめん、俺の力不足だ。
だって兄さん！
これから詳しく説明するから。以上がこれまでの顛末だ。
Again, I don't know how you don't blame yourself. He had to shove you out of the way twice.
お父さんは助からず、お母さんも記憶が。
そうだ。
兄さんも頑張ったんですよね。
全力を尽くしたつもりだ。
なら兄さんが頑張ってもダメだったんだ。
That's a very fair way to think about that.
どうしてもダメで、お父さん死んじゃって。
Ah, it's a sound that breaks me every fucking time.
その剣、私が持っていてもいいですか？
ああ、そうだな。ノルンが持ってろ。でもむやみに使おうとするなよ。剣を持つということは、心の中にも一本の剣を持っておく必要があるんだ。
You can teach her how to do swordsmanship. Paul taught you.
その剣を持っているからといって自分が強くなったと勘違いしちゃいけないからな。
わかりました。
母さん。
Oh, it is like I said.
奥様。
治らないの？
わからない。
I mean, it's hope.
母さんにはこの家で一緒に
She
暮らしてもらおうと
recognizes it. Then there's hope that she could
身の回りの
recognize
世話なんか
more.
についてはリーリャさんに一任するつもりだ。けどみんなには細かいところで迷惑をかけると思う。
わかった。僕も頑張るよ。ということはお母様もここで暮らすんですか？
はい。ルーデウス様のお世話になるつもりです。
仕事の分担とかはするんでしょうか？
それは後で話しましょう。
Still not uncomfortable. Still don't like the whole forcing Aisha
私た
to
ちに
be a
遠慮
maid.
することないよ。
That'll be about 120 minutes of this.
ただいま、アイシャ。
さて、じゃあ俺らは宿でも探すとすっか。
今夜くらいうちに泊まっていただいても。
先輩、バカ言ってんじゃねえよ。家族水入らずを邪魔するほど俺らは野暮じゃねえんだよ。
皆さん、長い間父さんを手伝っていただき、ありが
And
とうございます。
Roxy is on neither side of these screens.
あまり役立てず申し訳ありません。まだ町にはいるので、団長のお墓ができたら場所だけでも教えてください。
ベラさん、シェラさん。
そんな新規臭い顔すんなよ、先輩。
お主に礼を言われる筋合いはない。言われるならパウロからじゃな。
キースさん、タルハンドさん。
おいおい、らしくねえぜ。いつも通り、おい、新入りとでも言ってくれよ。
なんでそこまで新入りにこだわるんですか？
ジンクスだよ。
まったく、男どもはすぐにカッコつけたがりますわ。さて、私はクリフのところに行きますわ。
エリナ・リーゼさんもお世話になりました。
パウロのこと、
We never really get to find out
いえ
what their
あ
whole
れは俺の
feud
パーテ
was
ィーの
about.
私の役割はああならないように立ち回ることでしたのよ。パウロが死んだのは私のミスでもありますわ。
俺は責めませんよ、誰もね。
なら自分も責めたらダメですわよ。
はい。
シルフィー、ルーデウスはあなたのことを愛していますわ。
はい。
Okay, I thought she was about to out him for everything that's about to happen.
じゃあまたな、先輩。
Because this is gonna be so fucking uncomfortable. Like, there's the sadness uncomfortable we just had, but this is gonna be a whole other fucking thing.
大事な話がある。
聞くよ。
Oh god, don't play it like the she already fucking knows thing. I'm glad they're doing it in front of Aisha and Norn, though.
俺はここにいるロキシーを二人目の妻として迎えようと思っている。
What the fuck?
どういうこと？
父さんが死んで悲しくて辛くて、もう生きることさえどうでもよくなって、そんな時に助けてくれたのがロキシーなんだ。ごめんシルフィー、ミサオを立てるって言ったのに約束守れなかった。
お兄ちゃん。
シルフィー、許してほしい。
Kick him in the fucking head. One of you.
許せるわけないでしょ。シルフィー姉さんがどんな気持ちで兄さんを待っていたか知ってて言ってるんですか？毎日ルディは大丈夫かな、ルディに会いたいね、ルディも今頃ご飯食べてるかなって寂しそうにしてたシルフィー姉さんの顔と声を知ってて言ってるんですか？
Seriously, kick him in the head.
父さんを助けられなかったのはしょうがないって思いました。左手も失ってそれぐらい厳しかったんだからしょうがないって、兄さんを責めることなんてできないって。それなのに女の人を抱いて自分のものにする余裕はあったってことですか？
違う、そんな余裕はなかった。ロキシーはそんな俺を自分の気持ちを捨てて助けてくれたんだ。
シルフィー姉さんだってその場にいれば兄さんを助けたに決まってます。
お前だってわかるだろ。部屋に閉じこもって自分じゃどうしようもないと思った時の気持ちは、そこで助けてくれた人をどうしてないがしろにできるんだ。
わかるけど、兄さんには感謝してますけど、それとこれとは関係ありません。二人も妻をめとるなんてミリス様はお許しになりません。
Oh, don't bring the...
それに
Use the religion as the fucking excuse.
私とそんな変わらないぐらいじゃないですか。小さいかもしれませんが、これでも成人です。成人ならずうずうしいとか思わないんですか？
I'm sorry, I'm with Norn. I am with Norn.
ノルン、言い過ぎだ。ロキシーを妻に迎えるって言い出したのは俺なんだ。悪いのは俺で、ロキシーは悪くない。彼女は身を引こうとしてくれたんだ。
兄さんは黙っていてください。大体身を引こうとしたのなら、なんで最後までそうしようとしないんですか？結局兄さんの言葉に甘えただけでしょ。
Oh, you better not say a fucking damn thing, Rudy.
そうですね。ずうずうしいです。申し訳ありませんでした。
反対されることは分かっていた。だがロキシーに嫌な思いをさせたままここを去られるわけにはいかない。彼女を幸せにするって決めたのに、どうすればいい？
You dedicated your fucking self to Sylphie.
待って。
And this is where it all falls apart for me.
ロキシーさん、待ってください。なんで引き止めるんですか、シルフィーネ。行かせればいいじゃないですか。ごめんね、ノルンちゃん。僕のために。でも大丈夫だから。ありがとう。ちょっと混乱してたけど、ロキシーさんはルディを助けてくれたんだよね。はい。でも下心もありましたので、言い訳に使うつもりはありません。
We saw the unhappy look on Sylphie's face when she realized what was happening, and then
やっぱり同じことをしちゃうと思う。正直ね、僕は時間の問
I
題だと
feel
思っ
like
て
she's
たんだ。
doing this
ルデ
to
ィ
make
が別の
Rudy
女の人を
happy,
連れてくるの。
not because of what
ル
she's
ディっ
saying
てエッチ
now.
でしょ。僕とできないときっと誰かとしちゃうだろうなって思ってたんだ。それにルディを見る顔ですぐに分かったよ。そっか、僕もあんな顔だったのかな。すみません、不快なものを見せてしまって。不快じゃなかったよ。なんて言えばいいかな。ね、ロキシーさんのことはルディからいつも聞いてたんだ。なんと俺の尊敬する魔術師はあの人だけだって。それはなんというか恐縮です。だからちょっと嫉妬してるところもあったんだ。本当にすごい人なんだろうなって。でも実際に見て ルディが好きなだけの普通の女の子なんだって思ったら、
Look, all I'm thinking back to now is the whole Turning
だって
Point
僕と
1,
一緒だもん。
where this almost destroyed the entire fucking family.
ノルンちゃんはああ言ったけど、僕は歓迎します。
And I can't help but think that Sylphie is just sacrificing what she actually
一緒
wants
に
for the happiness of her family. Which just makes me think, what an ass Rudy is for putting her into this position. This is Sylphie just being a better woman.
ノルン、稽古なんだからそんな乱暴に。
さんが悪いんでしょ。ノルンちゃん、ルディはミリス教徒じゃないんだから許してあげて。でもパウロさんだって奥さんが2人いたんだよ。
It doesn't make it right.
確かにそうですけど、ノルンちゃん、リーディアさんにもそう言うの？ごめん、アイシャ。いいよ、別に。ノルン姉がよく考えずに物言ってるの知ってるから。何その言い方。ノルン姉が怒った。
It's also talking to people who are product of the past. This is the present.
うん。でも気持ちはちょっとわかるかな。大切な人が遠くで戦っているのに、自分は待っているだけなんて辛いからさ。シルフィー、予定日はいつなんですか？あと1ヶ月ちょっとかな。でもロキシー、本当にいいの？結婚するのをそれまで待つ必要なんてないよ。いえ、正直シルフィーには申し訳ない気持ちが大きいので、出産まで待たせてください。正式な妻になるのはその後で。そっか。ロキシーがそう言うなら。
This is such a difficult situation. I'll say this much. I'm not going to harp on this as much as I did, like, the slavery thing or the cat girls thing. Because it's too complicated to harp on. That's a weird thing to say, right? It's not more complicated than slavery. I just mean it's so many moving parts here.
シルフィー、お疲れ様。
Do you think every kid that Rudy has is going to be somebody isekai from the real world?
よかった。髪緑じゃなくて。ルディも抱いてあげて。
おお。
さあ、旦那様。
Oh, thank God. I didn't even think about it.
ルディ
That
の
Sylphette could have died in childbirth.
俺の
And then Roxy would be the only wife.
この子がシルフィーが産んでくれた俺の子供。
I don't even know where we go from here anymore. Other than the fucking harem anime that we're turning this into.
パウロ、父さん、久しぶり。
Oh, they better not, like,
父親に会った
ghost
よ。
image him here to make the opening true.
女の子だ。シルフィーの子供だし、きっと美人になるよ。父さんにも見せたかったな。父さんは死んじゃったけど、子供は生まれたよ。あの時俺を生かしてくれたから、俺は今子供を抱くことができるんだ。父さんがいなかったら、俺は。名前はルーシーに決めた。
I guess it was true that you
ルーシー・
can't...
グレイラット。俺とシルフィーの頭文字を取ったんだ。それからロキシー師匠
Yes, sir. You can't regenerate that hand. So you think it would have happened by now.
父さんと一緒だな。こういう時の心構えとか教えてほしかったよ。父さんはギレーヌとかエリナリーゼと結婚しようって考えたりしたのかな。
Don't get into that. Literally the fucking harem thing.
あんまり考えてなさそう。 俺もあんまり難しく考えない方がいいのかな。父さん、俺ダメな息子だったよ。前世の記憶とか持っててさ、ちゃんと息子として父さんと向き合えていなかった。けど今はもうパウロ・グレイラットの息子のつもりだから。俺ようやく分かったよ。自分がまだまだ子供だったって。前世の記憶で大人ぶってただけのガキだって。子供も生まれて親にもなったし、すぐに大人にならなくちゃとは思うけど、きっともっとたくさん失敗していっぱい悩みながら
Man,
少しずつゆっくり変わっていかなきゃ
I already
大
miss
人には
Paul.
なれないんだろうな。父さんもそうだったんだろう。俺頑張れよ。父さんがそうしてくれたみたいに、父さんが残してくれたものを守
How
れ
are we
よ。
at the fucking end of the episode already?
じゃあまた来る。今度はみんなを連れて。
そばにいるよ、そばにいるよ、時が経ちも焦っても
いろんなことに一段落がついた。辛いこともあったし、嬉しいこともあった。大きな失敗も繰り返してしまった。
Well, at least those two got
けれ
along.
ど終わりじゃない。
And
俺
Eris.
はまだまだこの世界で生きていく。いつ死んでも後悔しないように、本気で。
Oh, that fucking end of season image. I feel like the one from season 1 was happier because it was like they were going on an adventure to thing, whereas this one's just like a memory. Man, I got that so fucking wrong, right? When I was doing the opening breakdown, and I was talking about how adult Paul was there, right? And they're doing the whole thing of like Rudy growing up over time, and it's adult Paul there, where it was just Zenith as she was, and child Rudy. And I was like, oh, maybe she's gonna die, and that's why the only memories he's gonna have of her are just of him as a kid. And it turns out, no, that's not why the only memories of her he's gonna have. Turns out that's just 'cause she has no fucking memories anymore. And Paul was the one to go. Oh god. And I think I don't know. There's just there's a comment in the chat because I record these live on Fridays at 11 starting at 11 a.m. and I'm gonna get to that chat comment in a minute. It's just want to address the element that this stone face, right? I look the same no matter crying. So I guess I can be more emotive and happy, but this is always this. So I just want to explain. There's the element of I feel sad because Paul is dead, and we're not going to get any more Paul. But there's also the sadness that it's also what happens when I finish a show that I really care about. I really care about Mushoku Tensei. Is the sadness that the characters are no longer going to be with me. And there's this element that I've been watching this show for, what, a year now? A year straight? Restarts and whatnot. So, I don't know. just a sad guy that I am. That having these people around every day, not every day, every week, sadder not to have them here anymore. And I always hit that revelation right at the end of watching a show. I'm gonna be sadder once I'm done recording for the day because it's gonna hit me more when I'm alone. But yeah, and now gonna have to wait. Gonna have to wait until next season, and then it's gonna be weekly. And God forbid the show does its normal thing of having a delay. So the obvious thing here would be read the manga, but I can't read the manga because that would be fucking spoilers, and you know how anti-spoiler I am. Anyway, let me tab over here to the to my Twitch control panel so I can actually see the comments that have been made, because you've typed yourself enough that you're off of my you're off of my overlay now. But Alex V9 in the chat. Apparently, Sylphie's acceptance comes from an inferiority complex similar to Roxy's. She has strongly associated her happiness with Rudy's happiness, and as long as he's okay, she'll be okay. Now, is it okay to be tied to a person's emotional state? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I don't know. People are complicated. I've already stated in my reaction to how Sylphie handled this that I don't like it. It's her choice ultimately, right? But I find that I blame Rudy for her choice because her choice is based on Rudy's happiness. And ultimately, she is sacrificing to allow Rudy to be happy because a happy Rudy is a happy her, I guess. And I don't appreciate that. She is ultimately the pillar that holds this family together now. I feel like Rudy is the strength of that, but she is everything else. When I say he's the strength of that, I mean everything is attracted to him. Like, he is the gravity well, but he's also, of course, the superpowered protagonist of the story. But I feel like if there was a mother hen, a mom, that's Sylphie. She has developed into that. She recognizes what this place needs to stay as one, and she is sacrificing a part of herself to keep that the way it is. Anyway, continuing thought. To ease your mind, since it's already happened, the so-called regret was Paul's death. Man-God didn't take into account the use of the teleporter. If Rudy took the long trip, he would miss the birth of his child. He wouldn't have arrived in time to save Roxy, and they wouldn't have rescued Zenith, and possibly Paul would have died anyway. And if he stayed, Roxy and Paul would have died, and they would never have saved Zenith. In any case, there was regret in whatever Rudy decided to do. However, now it's lesser in magnitude. I would argue, well, I don't even have to say I would argue. You all know. We all know me. I argue should just be the statement. Maybe that's an emote. Maybe I should make an emote for the Discord. Or the Twitch. Sorry, there are Twitch emotes. I have a bunch of Twitch emotes on here. You know, the very applicable malaise in the rain crying should probably be one of you's here. But I don't know. Roxy was like in there for like a week or more, and obviously he saved her in the last minute. Maybe Roxy would have died. I think they just would have not have made any progress on Zenith. So Paul would still be alive, Zenith would still be trapped, Roxy would have died. I paused there for a moment to think what would have been the better situation, because missing the birth of your daughter, while major, isn't extremely a regrettable situation as the death of a loved one. So not going would mean Roxy's death, and there is no middle ground on going and not reaching the end of that scenario. So you'd be sacrificing Roxy by not going to still have Paul. And at that point, you're choosing who lives and who dies. And at that point, I don't know what the better scenario is. Ultimately, I would have preferred everybody lives, but that is just me being naive, I guess, in the realm of what can happen here in this show. Anyway, I don't know what to say here. So I think the next move is that I will probably take some notes for when we do the character ranking, and I think I'm going to do like a top 5 episode thing. Probably do it on a recording, but there'll also be a more cut version for YouTube and Patreon. But before that, I do have the season 3 preview, and it feels like to me that I should include that in this recording, in not some future one. So let me inhale a little bit here, and let's get that done as well.
新たに生まれた大切なものを守るため
俺は不可能に立ち向かう
無色転生異世界行ったら本
Who's
気で
that
す
voice?
第3期制作決定
No, literally gave me nothing. Okay, was that just? Sorry, I have a hard time recognizing his internal monologue. In the Japanese. So was that his internal monologue and Rudy's voice? Or was that somebody else who I just don't recognize? Sorry, also, thought occurs to me, this is all gonna be in one video anyway, so I'm just gonna include it here. Thought that I didn't say out loud because I was emotionally just fucking torn apart. Was that, Bodigatti and Rougeard were just hanging out together. So my entire at the end of the season ending there, so my entire fear that Bodigatti was going to become a villain and attack Rudy's family because of his association with Rougeard, apparently completely baseless. So I don't even know what the threat is anymore. But yeah, I guess that is the season 3 is in production announcement trailer or teaser. As far as I know, there is no trailer for season 3 yet, because I guess if they're not, at that point of production, there wouldn't be. And technically, back when me and Griffin were originally watching this, we were approaching the end of season 1 exactly when season 2 was about to start being released. So we were in line. We were in match step with Mushoku Tensei's release. So I don't think all the extra time it's taken me to reach this point would have been enough time for them to have finished a season of the show. So I doubt that they're at the point for me right now for there to be a trailer out. So yeah, I think that's probably it. That is probably everything. Oh god, it's so hard to give up a thing that you're watching. You know what? Just for the sake of being here and this being the final thing, let's take a trip back through season 2. And remember all the good times. And all the bad times. God, it feels like so long ago, doesn't it? Oh man. Him and his statues. And now that we're doing a harem thing, I hope she doesn't come back. I hope she came back for the longest time, but not if we're doing a harem thing. Oh man, that was basically a fucking spoiler. Simple-minded as I am, I think I could have figured out entirety of Season 2 based on that trailer alone. Okay, that was that one.
思い出せ。この世界に来た時のこと。
あの日からずっと悪夢は見ていない。
I guess maybe the princess's stuff is gonna be Season 3? This isn't Season 3 stuff, I'm just guessing. Out loud while watching.
俺は忘れてた。本気で生きるということ。
Crying under Archie's panties. See where that wound up.
遠く離れているが、まだ一人じゃない。
Also, just occurring to me, we've created a father stand-in character. Right? My brain is blanking on his name, Soldat or something like that. He could show up again. Sort of a Paul stand-in character.
足引っ張って誰か死ぬようなことになったら許せないんだから。
無影小魔術が使えるなんて君も相当なんでしょう。
それって答える必要ありますかね。こんなものが使えたところで大切な人が戻ってくるわけじゃありませんよ。
Oh, this fucking song. Such a good fucking song. The reason that the Mushoku Tensei soundtrack is so fucking great is because it has such all the emotionality behind it that the show invoked. I don't even need to know what the words mean. I know what they make me feel. Also, when they were showing all the characters moving on at the very end, I don't recall seeing Ghislaine anywhere. We saw Eris, no Ghislaine. Ah, fuck you, Rudy. It's the flashbacks to their past that make their future together so impactful. It's also a weird thing that everyone fell in love with him the moment they saw him again in the future.
私ルーデウスとこちらシルフィエット。
Yeah, I still don't like the fact that Aisha is being like groomed to be a maid.
ルディにずっと好きでいてもらえるように頑張らないとね。
Alright, one last one.
家族との再会を目指してもいいのだが、その前にやらなければならないことがある。
Getting the letter from
ル
Geese.
ディにずっと好きでいてもらえるように頑張らないとね。
シルフィーは俺に大切なものを取り戻させてくれた。
The life is good but
彼
boring
女が俺を
element.
助けてくれたように、今度は
I
俺
didn't
が
notice those 2
シルフ
stars,
ィー
by
の
the way.
望むことをしてあげる番だ。
結婚してください。
はい。
ありがとうじゃ足りないほど無償の愛。
あなたがシルフィーを大切にしていなければ私たちは彼女を取り返します。
学校行きたくない。お兄ちゃんになんで口聞いてんのさ。
You could do so many spin-off shows of this.
お前たちは家族
The Adventures of Norn, Nanahoshi, and the Journey Home.
ありがとう。
突然いなくなったりしない。
Children's Savior Rujard.
ゼニス救出困難。救援を求む。
Totally does not have to be about Rudy anymore. This is probably a bad example, but if you think about the Walking Dead universe and all of its spin-offs, it had so many impactful characters throughout that show's run that they can just spin off like a character in a location and you just like want to fucking watch it, right? You could do that with Mushoku Tensei now. I feel like I want to know what Soldat and his adventuring party is up to, wherever the fuck they are. I want to know what Rujard is up to in his adventures. Now that he can like travel the world. Give us an entire spin-off series about Eris and Ghislaine, like a season, like a 12-episode run about what they were doing. Like, I could live with it. I want to see it. I'm interested. There is a market, I feel like. Well, anyway, I have cheered myself up a little bit with memories of the past, the other previews of the season that we just got done watching. I think there's nothing left for me here to do, but to move on. We've got the character rankings next, and after that, we'll be into new shows until we get another inkling of what's coming for season 3. So until then, I have been Theta. This has been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?